Well, hello there, YouTube. Hello, everyone. Well, very happy to be talking with everyone today. We have some letters from people they're dealing with situations in their family life, and I thought it might be interested to talk about those. So, really good to have everyone here today. The first letter is going to be from someone who is having trouble with their marriage. So, this lady seems to be having some disagreements with her husband. What are they? Well, we're going to talk more about those. But I thought first we could discuss some of the reasons why there are frictions in today's modern families. I think we could all agree that, men and women, they're different. They have different needs and desires, or perhaps you disagree. Perhaps you think men and women are the same. But in any case, there are a lot of arguments that could jeopardize our relationships. How do we overcome this? This is the sort of thing we'll be talking about today. So to start, I wanted to share with you our pre-reading question, and that is, I'm going to type that in the chat box right now. So it's just a really simple question. Are men and women different? Why do you think so? So I'm going to give it away. I think men and women are a little different, but is that due to society or biology? I don't know. It's up to you. It's a discussion, so let's see what you think. I'll just give you a few minutes to talk about it. Wow, it is actually a really difficult question, but I think as you read the upcoming letter, you're going to know why I'm asking you this. Speaking of which, I'm going to send you that letter through a link in the chat box. So let me send you that letter right now. 1 second, I'll send that right now. Alrighty, so let me bring this back here. Okay, so you should have just received the Word document. So I know some of you are on your phones, you can download it, but just in case you can, it's there if you need it. And you can also follow along on the PPT later. Good. So, excellent. We got some comments here. Nurturing. This is from Joyce. And yes, I think what you're referring to is society. As boys and girls are raised, they are raised in different ways. They're for whatever reason, for example, girls are raised to play with dolls and boys play with toy spaceships or trucks. I don't know. And then there's another opinion that we're biologically different, nothing else. So actually, I don't know. There are two camps, two sides of this discussion. Really good. So anyway, let's get into the letter today. And there are some disagreements, and I want you to think about why these disagreements happen. So let's get started. I'm going to move over here. Good. All right. Are men and women different? Well, yes, but why? It's quite complicated. Let's move on. All right, so the letter begins, Dear Professor Noland. Okay, that's me. My husband and I have been friends with another couple for several years. Let's call them Ben and Stacy. Recently, we have become aware that they are having some relationship problems. Oh no, some problems happening? That's not good. Stacy has brought it to my attention that Ben has a multitude, he has many annoying habits that are just driving her crazy. We are worried that these problems could jeopardize their marriage. Oh no. Jeopardize means to put their marriage in danger. So what kind of problems could these be? Let's see more. One day, Stacy began to complain nonstop about how her husband, over the text message, she said, "My husband and I got into another argument again this morning. He has a terrible habit of just throwing his dirty clothes all over the house. He never picks up after himself. I'm sure he thinks he's married his mother and I should just continue where she left off. He doesn't lift a finger to do anything around the house." Oh no. Oh no, he's a little lazy, isn't he? I don't know how many times I've begged him to clean up after himself and to help me with the housework. He says he feels henpecked. I never dreamed he was so sloppy and lazy before I married him. I'm really having second thoughts about our future together. Okay, it looks like this is getting to be a very serious problem. After Stacy told me this, I really didn't know what to say. I just tried my best to make her feel comfortable. That's terrible, I said. Have you tried talking to his family about the situation? Stacy gave a sullen nod. Well, my husband's a mama's boy, and as far as they're concerned, he can do no wrong. Okay. Professor Noland, I wonder what you would say if you were in my position. It sounds like my friend is stuck between a rock and a hard place. If she stays with him, it will just be more of the same. If she walks out on him, she'll have a hard time for sure. People who are divorced are usually stigmatized. Sincerely, Anonymous. Okay? So anonymous means this person has no name. They don't want to tell us, they want to protect their personal identity, and okay, we can respect that. But we can still talk about the issues here. So, to begin, take a moment, think about how you would respond to this situation. So, here's the letter here, and if you have the Word document, you can follow along there as well. So, take a moment, look through the letter, skim through it, try to understand what's going on, and then we'll talk about it more. Okay, I'm back. All right, so Rose Cho says many differences. Yeah, so many between men and women. Yeah, so many differences. I don't even know. That's the reason why I'm asking you. I'm not an expert about this. Yeah. Okay, we have some interesting input from Hyunju over here. When I talk to someone about my problem, the way that men and women approach the situation are a little different. She says that the man prefers to offer a solution to the problem, while a woman is sympathetic about it. So the woman wants to listen and show her sympathy. So we see here there are different ways of approaching problems. And generally speaking, I guess I can see where you're coming from. Of course, there are some men who are very sympathetic and some women who are very logical, but generally speaking, I get it. We see this sort of style on the media. Whenever I see a drama, for example, usually the women are portrayed to be more sympathetic and the men are less emotional, generally speaking. So I totally understand why you would say that. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Good. So I think that everybody is thinking about that long letter that I just shared with you. That's great. Keep thinking about it. I'm going to go over some of the vocabulary words, and hopefully this will help you understand what's going on. So let's get started with that. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, well, it looks like for whatever reason my PPT is not showing. That is too bad. Oh, there it is. Good, good. Good, okay, it's working now. All right, so the first word we're looking at, jeopardize. This means to put something in danger. You remember from the letter, they said, we are worried that these problems could jeopardize their marriage. So what problems do they have? Well, the woman has some legitimate concerns about the man, and the man has some concerns about the woman. So these problems could put their marriage in danger, could jeopardize their marriage. Lift a finger to do something. When you lift a finger, this means to make effort. Okay. So remember, one of the complaints about the husband is that he doesn't lift a finger to do anything around the house. And I imagine it's something like this picture here. He's just hanging out and she's trying to clean. And, you know, this might come down to personality differences. Maybe he comes from a family that is not that tidy, you know, and she comes from a very tidy background. Who knows? Like, we don't know. Henpecked. Okay, so this is when always a woman, you know, this is why we use it, when a woman continually criticizes and gives orders to her male partner. Okay, so this is a hen. Maybe you can see the imagery here by looking at this picture. You know, the hens are pecking each other. The woman says, I don't know how many times I begged him to clean up after himself and to help me with the housework. And the man says he feels henpecked. So that means that he feels like the woman is too picky, complaining all the time. Yeah, that's what henpecked means. So, good. To have second thoughts. Idiom, to reconsider something, to begin to doubt a previous decision or commitment that you had in the past. So, what commitment is this? We're talking about their relationship. So, the letter says, I never dreamed he was so sloppy and lazy before I married him. I'm really having second thoughts about our future together. So I think you would all agree when you first marry someone, that commitment is very important in society. It's a commitment for life. But she is having second thoughts. She's reconsidering. She's thinking to herself, oh no, did I make a mistake? I made a mistake, didn't I? Mama's boy. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. A man who's too dependent on his family, especially his mother. Yeah, so that is what it is. Between a rock and a hard place. So this is an idiom. It means to be faced with a situation where one is faced with two equally difficult alternatives. So the woman is referred to being between a rock and a hard place. Why? Well, let's read here. She's stuck between a rock and a hard place because if she stays with him, it'll just be more of the same. The things that are bothering her will continue to bother her. But if she walks out on him, she'll have a hard time. And why would she have a hard time? Well, divorce is not an easy procedure. I mean, it's very time-consuming, expensive, and apparently in society it is stigmatized. Now, we may talk about that later. I don't know. I've never been divorced. Stigmatized how? Maybe you guys have more experience than me. So, anyway, this is my response. To whom it may concern, you may be asking the wrong person because I am a single man and I don't have any experience with marriage issues like this, but I will give my 2 cents anyway. First of all, it seems like this couple made a big mistake. They obviously didn't take enough time to get to know each other before they got married. The main problem I see here is that both the husband and wife resent each other, and resentment is poison to any relationship. So what is resentment? The dictionary defines it as bitter indignation at having been treated unfairly. So in this case, the woman resents the man for being lazy. He has a lot of annoying habits, and the man resents the woman for complaining all the time. So be that as it may, if they are not willing to let go of their resentment, then there is no way they can overcome their problems without breaking up. The choice is theirs. It really depends on how much they care about each other. So I know this wasn't that helpful, but it's all I got. Seriously, I don't know about this stuff. Branden Noland. Okay. So I don't know. You feel free to disagree. Do you agree with my answer, or do you have more input? I want to know what you guys think. I'm going to turn it back over to you. And we're back. Okay. Oh, thanks guys. It looks like we have some comments here. Yeah. Yeah, Joyce says her problem isn't differences between men and women. It's a personality trait. And I totally agree. It seems like they come from different family backgrounds. Different families produce different family traits. For example, in my family, we would go into the house and we would still wear shoes most of the time. I come to Korea, I wear shoes indoors. Everybody loses their minds. They go crazy because it's something you just don't do here. So yeah, some of your family background can really affect a lot about how you are in the future. Okay. Yeah, one commenter says the men around me are very tidy and organized. They're better cleaners. Well, consider yourself lucky. I don't think I'm very tidy. Okay, so if she wants to keep her marriage, accept his personality. Yeah. You can't really change someone after, I don't know. I don't think it's a good idea to go into a relationship expecting to change someone. They can only change if they want to change. It has to be their personal decision. So that's the best way. Okay, it's natural in marriage. They'll find some common ground. Hopefully they do. Hopefully they do. Yeah, to be honest, I mean, they either find some common ground or they don't and they get divorced, but I think it's sort of, personally, it's a silly reason to get divorced. I think there are better reasons to break up. We'll talk more about that later. Yeah. Okay. All right, so if you have more comments about that story, think about it. I do have some discussion questions related to this topic, so let's consider those. I'll copy and paste them in the chat box below. Okay. Right, so we have another commenter that says it's not easy to change someone's bad habits. The problem is he thinks the housework is his wife's business. So, yeah, traditionally, I think we can all agree that traditionally the husband worked outside of the house and the wife was in charge of the housework. However, that is changing because of today's economic situation. For most people, both the husband and wife need to work, and that just mixes things up because if both are working and the man still expects the woman to clean and do all the housework and everything, I can definitely see how some resentment could build up over time. So yeah, society's changing and it is what it is. It causes some friction. The first discussion question I want to, yeah, just in this case, exactly. So everyone's different. The first question is, what do you think are the main reasons people get divorced? So in this case, I think there are personality differences, but in your experience, you know, a lot of marriages fail, or relationships fail. What are some reasons for that? Yeah. So we have another commenter that says they can talk together to try to find a common ground. Yeah, I agree that marriage is something that you shouldn't rush into. I have heard of people getting married like after only dating for 6 months. That's not enough time, right? Okay, we have H.J. Lim saying, all about money. What does that mean? Oh, the divorce. Divorces are caused by money. Yeah, money is the root of many disagreements between humans. Yes, absolutely. Okay. All right, so we talked a little bit about this before. You know, society is changing, and these days, I don't know, but I think that men and women are becoming more equal in society. So, in what ways do you think? In what ways do you think the roles between men and women in the family and society are changing? Are they changing? Why do you think so? We talked a little bit about this, but you know. Yeah. A lack of trust, that's some good points. Bad habits. So many bad habits that could happen, yeah. Mm. Excuse me, I got to get that morning coffee in there. Okay, we have, I like this comment here. Yes, they are changing a little bit, but we have a long way to go in Korea. And yeah, I'm not familiar with Korean society or anything, but I do know that the country has changed tremendously in the last 50 years. Like, huge change. And that's not only reflected in the big skyscrapers, all the technology, but it's also reflected in our society and how we interact with other people. Changing very fast. Yeah. Sure. Okay, so some people say, although the country's changing, the roles between men and women are sort of not changing as fast as other things. Okay. Okay, good. So the change is related to economic power, says one commenter, and that may be true. Yeah, economic power is power that's translated into real power in society. So if you're able to make your own money, you can make your own decisions. You have more ability to walk away from a bad situation. So I think it's good. Lots of good ideas, guys. Thanks a lot. Okay. All right, you guys are great. So continuing our discussion on the modern family, we're going to switch gears a little bit and now consider a different letter. And this time, we're considering another married couple. They're happily married, but they have to make decisions about their child. And I think we would all agree that when you have children, your life becomes a lot more complicated. And you have to you really have to make some hard choices sometimes and some sacrifices. So that's what we're going to talk about next. And in order to do that, Joyce, some good questions. I will answer that in just a moment. Yeah, just a moment. Alrighty, so I'm going to share that link with you right now. For those of you who are interested, I shared the link to the Word document in the text box below. All right, so, okay, so one question. I love this. Personal questions to me. Thanks asking my opinion. Joyce asked me, do you think men and women are equal in U.S. families? I think it's very difficult to generalize because the U.S. is not a homogeneous society. That means it's comprised of not just one ethnicity like Korea is, but it's comprised of so many different subcultures. Like you have Korean Americans, you have Native Americans, you have Mexican Americans. It's really hard to say that everybody does the same thing because really it's a bunch of, from my perspective, a bunch of cultures coexisting together. So to answer your question, it really depends on the family. It's really hard to generalize. I think it's easier to generalize in countries that are more homogeneous, like Korea and other countries. The U.S. has been called a melting pot or a mixed salad. So many different ethnicities are mixed together and they're sort of connected vaguely by a common education system and common language. So yeah, hopefully it's a completely different situation. Good. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. And let's move on. Okay, so Good, it's working. So moving on to this next letter, we're reading a letter from a couple. Dear Professor Noland, okay, I am an office worker who lives in Seoul. I am married and have a 5-year-old daughter. My wife and I are doing everything we can to ensure that our daughter grows up to live a happy, successful life. As you may know, many Koreans will stop at nothing to learn English because speaking English fluently has become critical to professional success. High English proficiency test scores and a good command of English give candidates the upper hand in the ruthless competition for secure, well-paid jobs. We think that investing in our daughter's English education will give her a distinct edge in the rat race when she grows up. Therefore, sacrifices must be made. Many people spend a fortune on everything from books, online lectures, to English language institutes, I think those are called hagwons in Korea, and trips abroad in order to give themselves the best shot at learning to speak English fluently. My wife plans to live with my daughter in North America while I support the family financially working here in Korea. This will give my daughter a chance to develop her English language skills in an authentic English immersion environment. Okay, what a plan. What a plan. I'm not going to lie. I'm having second thoughts about this whole idea. It's going to be a huge sacrifice for me to live without my wife and daughter for such a long time, possibly several years. I'm afraid maintaining a long-distance relationship will put a strain on my marriage. In Korea, they call fathers like me Kirogi Appa? Oh, is that how you pronounce it? Kirogi Appa? I translated this into Google. It means goose dad. I don't really know why you guys call it that, but anyway. I know this sort of family arrangement may sound strange for people not familiar with it, so I wanted to ask you what you think about my situation. Am I making the right choice? I hope to hear from you soon. Sincerely, Anonymous. Okay, wow. So when I first read this letter, I was actually pretty surprised. I've never heard of this situation, really. I didn't really think it was that common. But think about how you would respond. Give you some time. Let's move over here. Okay, we're back. So yeah, first of all, I want to ask you, is this situation very common or is it kind of strange? In the US, I grew up in California. I never heard of anybody doing this, but, you know, that's just me. Okay, yeah, we respect your opinion. One commenter says, I disagree that families live apart. And I see why you say that, and I think it's not an ideal situation. Families should be together. That's an ideal situation. That's the whole point of being a family. You have to be together and support each other. But this couple thinks that this arrangement will be the best, and they're willing to sacrifice for their child. Who am I to judge? Personally, I couldn't do it. It's not my style. I don't think I'm the sort of person who can have a long distance relationship. It's too much for me, but perhaps some people can make it work. Yeah. Okay. So one commenter says that it's a disaster for the man. He'll be very lonely, but his daughter will have a good environment. Yeah, the daughter, generally speaking, I do think that the people who studied English overseas tend to be more fluent than those who went through the education system here. So, yeah, for what it's worth, she will probably be able to speak English better, especially if she goes through the public school system over there as well. So, good. All right, we have another comment. It's important to improve the daughter's skills for social reasons in the future, but I think it is more important to make memories with her family. Yeah, so this is one of the situations where it's okay to have an opinion. It's okay to disagree. I want to ask the viewers, is this situation common? Does it happen a lot? Yeah. All right, so from the comments that I'm reading, it seems like this situation is not an ideal situation. So we appreciate your comments. Good. Well, think more about it. Let's just look at this. Let's look at this letter one more time. Mm-hmm. Good. So we have some vocabulary words here. Stop at nothing. This is an idiom. It means to do whatever it takes to accomplish a task or goal. So the writer says, as you may know, many Koreans will stop at nothing to learn English because it's important for their future success, right? Stop at nothing. They go through great lengths to learn English. They make many sacrifices. They do whatever it takes. Stop at nothing. It's an idiom we use very often. Good. Ruthless. Having or showing no pity or compassion for others. So in the context of the letter we just read, we can think about when we're kids. Like, look at these pictures here. When we're kids, the adults really cater to our desires. We're really taken care of. We're treated as special. However, the real world is entirely different. The real world, when we graduate high school, especially when we get out of university, we try to find a job, the real world is ruthless. If we don't have the proper support, if we don't have the proper the ideal situation, really bad things can happen, and we see that happening to some people. So I think many people would agree that the job market, not just in Korea, but in many countries, including the United States, is ruthless. Survival of the fittest. The writer says the proficiency test scores and good command give candidates the upper hand in the ruthless competition for secure, well-paid jobs. Okay. And secure, is there such a thing as a secure job? I don't know. Society's changing. I don't think any job's secure. Distinct edge. So distinct edge means special advantage. When someone has an edge on the competition, they have an advantage. So you can think about an edge as being like the edge of a knife cutting through butter. So if you have an edge, you can cut through the competition like a hot knife through butter. But when you have a distinct edge, distinct means special, unique. That means you have a unique advantage. Distinct edge. Okay, they also talk about the rat race. The rat race, when we say rat race, it's a very common expression. It stands for the endless, self-defeating, pointless pursuits of life. The phrase equates humans to rats attempting to earn a reward, such as cheese in vain. So it's commonly associated with the exhausting, repetitive lifestyle that leaves no time for relaxation or enjoyment. We can take a look at some pictures here. The rat race. We go through life thinking that we're going to have our dream job, and in reality, we're just going to try to get by like everybody else. Think of a human running in a rat wheel, making money, but why is he making money? Well, in 70 years, we're all going to be dead, so does it really matter? Rat race. These are all the images that this expression conjures up. I think it's really useful to know. Very common. Good. The best shot at. The best chance to do something. Many people spend a fortune, a lot of money on lots of things to give themselves the best shot, the best opportunity at learning to speak English fluently. Another common expression here. Last one, to have in second thoughts. We already learned about this before, and the husband is saying, I'm not going to lie, I'm having second thoughts about this whole idea. He wants to do what's best for his daughter, but he's not so sure. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so what's going on here from current slide? My response, to whom it may concern, I've never heard of this Kirogi Appa situation before. I was surprised when you described it to me. If you think splitting your family apart has more benefits than disadvantages, then by all means do so. As long as it is worth it for you, it really doesn't matter what I or anyone else thinks about your decision. Life is too short to care too much about what other people think. That said, it seems that you are prioritizing your daughter's education over the health of your marriage. Most people I've talked to say that they would never be able to make a long-term relationship work. It's not an ideal situation. Are both you and your wife willing to make the necessary sacrifices to help your plan succeed? The only people who can answer that is you. Personally, I don't think I could do it, but I would be interested to hear what my viewers have to say about this. I wish you and your family a happy future. Sincerely, Branden Noland. So we're gonna move it back to the group discussion. What do you guys think about this? And look, oh, I'm glad to see we have some more input. So let's talk more about this. And we're back. Okay, let's talk together. Do you agree with my response? Okay, so it's not common, but many parents try to do it. I think I agree with you. The majority of people do try to stay together. That's our common instinct. Okay, and one person says it happens a lot. Some little disagreement here, and that is okay. All right, we have another comment here. His wife is taking away the precious time with his daughter, and learning a language is just one aspect of education. So, yeah, there are many aspects. I know that the Korean education system really produces students who are better at science and math than the American systems do. I've seen my Korean high school students study math, and they are doing math that American students do in university. So English isn't everything. Yeah, we have one comment saying we prefer to move all families to the US together. That would be an ideal situation, wouldn't it? Yeah. Good. Good. So let's consider some questions. All right, so I'm just going to drop some questions in the chat box below. All right, so two of the questions are, what reasons do you think people have to study English? And do you think children like or dislike learning English? And as a teacher, I used to teach elementary school and middle school. I have my own opinion about this, but you guys have all been students. You've gone through the education system. Think about your past. Did you enjoy learning English? I don't know. When I was teaching school, generally speaking, most students they weren't that interested in learning English. I think it's because they can't see the relevance of English in their lives. So I think to motivate our students to learn, we have to help them see why or how the language can benefit them, not just now, not just to complete some game or to have fun now, but in the future. So I find that many people, when they grow older, they regret not studying English. They wish they had done more when they had the chance. I know I did. I know that when I was in school, when I was in high school, I spent most of my time playing computer games. I really wish I could go back in time and just learn everything. I love learning today. But, children are very centered in the present time. They really care about the here and now. So it's just a different state of being, I guess. All right, so Rose Trove says, to live in the global era, we must learn English. It's a common language. Okay, yeah. English has been considered the common language. Nowadays, Chinese is becoming common. So not only are children being sent to learn English, but they're also learning Chinese, two of the basic languages. So yeah, global era. Really nice. All right, so we have a comment here. I like to study English because I don't need to look at subtitles on movies. Well, that's nice to be able to watch movies without subtitles. But school style is too strict. Okay. I think what you may be referring to is how the school system heavily emphasizes test scores and grammar rather than communication. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always thought that too much emphasis on grammar. Yeah. But grammar is important, I think. In order to learn a language, you should study grammar by all means, but not just grammar. You study grammar, communication, movies. You really want to have a manifold approach. Yeah, so I think one commenter says, I started learning English because of my school exam. I didn't really like learning. So when you study for an exam, it sometimes sucks the joy out of it, doesn't? It'd be nice to have motivation that's not derived just from the exam. I completely agree. All right. The next question, that's a little more personal. When and if you have a child, what will your plan be regarding his or her English education? So, do you want your child to be educated in the same way that you were, or are you going to do something different than your parents did? Are you going to do something different? Personally, I'm not a parent. I don't have children. I don't know if I ever will have children. But if I did, I think it's important for the children to have a childhood. So I look back on my childhood and it was a very happy time. I remember just playing with friends. It was no stress. Very happy time. And when I look at some of the students I've had in the past, sometimes I feel bad for them because their lives are so structured around hagwons and lessons and exams. So I feel like in some ways, some of the kids might be missing out. However, I think my parents may have been too free. I wish they would have pushed me a little harder. Maybe I would have done better in school. I think I did okay in school. I was an average student. I was a B student, B plus in university. But I think there's something to be said about some guidance. Kids need guidance. The key is balance. Like I said, I'm not a parent. You guys, I think a lot of you guys may have children, so you are far more qualified to talk about this than I am. Yeah. Okay, we have one comment. Showing cartoons and movies in English is a good way to learn and improve your listening skills. Yes, make English fun. There are some parents who refuse to show their children any movies. I've seen these parents because they think that movies will somehow make the brains lazy or something. But so it's kind of controversial. People have different ideas about that. Excuse me. That was an alarm. Time for Branden to wake up. Yeah. So we have one commenter that says, in order to see the world widely, many people we need to learn English to get information. So that is true. If you want to get information, it helps to be able to use Google and type in questions in English. I think you may be able to get a wider range of information than if you just use Naver. That's true. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with learning languages faster. Good. Here's another one. Here's another one. Is it possible for a Korean to learn to speak English like a native speaker without overseas study? So, do we need overseas study to speak fluently? I like this comment. I'll marry someone who can speak fluent English, so I don't need to worry about it, right? That's great. Okay, Joyce says, of course. Yeah. There are some people who who've grown up in Korea. They've never studied abroad, and they are very fluent. Okay, guys, the last question for today. And I think this is something we all have an opinion about. What do you think needs to change about the education system here in Korea? Is there anything that needs to change? We can think about that too. Oh, I think this is a good point. So one person says in Korea there are limits in our opportunities to use English. And that is a really good point. English is not the official language in this country. You turn on the TV, the news is not going to be in English. It's not like the Philippines or India, right? So I think that lack of use is a huge barrier, but it can be overcome in various ways. Really nice. Okay, some people plan to use picture books. Yeah, picture books help. Yeah. Really, anything that you're interested in, if you're interested in books, by all means, use those as a language learning tool. Interested in dramas? That's great. In my experience, the foreigners who come to Korea, the non-Koreans who have learned to speak Korean the most fluently, have been the ones who are obsessed with Korean dramas. Yeah, they're totally obsessed. They love the culture. They're immersed in this environment. So they're the ones who really pick up the language fluently. Yeah. All right, so we have a comment here. The education system has changed a lot and is strongly influenced by the government. So, influenced by the government, I think what you may mean here is that it is very strongly standardized. Every school has to have a similar curriculum, and there are benefits to having all students in the entire country learn the same way, but there are also disadvantages. Perhaps some students learn differently than others. Some good points. All right, we have another commenter say here, I don't know, I just know it's not easy. And I can agree with that. I've seen some high school students study for the Sunung, and it does not look easy. I've seen them, they literally sit in a little cubicle for hours and hours every single day. You know, it can't be good. I'm sure some of them gain weight while they do that. And they just study for the Sunung. I've never seen adults study the way I've seen my ex-high school students study. It was crazy. Yeah. Okay, another commenter says, I think the education system should motivate students to find what they want to do. Right. And wouldn't it be nice if it was more about what we desire to do? Really, when we have that intrinsic desire, it helps us, and we really go a lot farther. So I think these are all brilliant points. So guys, I'm going to have to stop the stream right now because we're going to be having another streamer come up. Another professor is going to start their class. I really appreciate all of your comments, and I will see you next week, I think. So until then, see you later. Goodbye. Yeah. Have a nice day. Bye.